it's a beautiful day to do these reactions, man. Like it before you light it, hit the sub before you hit the bud, join the team before you hit the green, man. And also,
hype me up. Hype me up.
You heard me?
Hype me up.
All right, y'all. A very stupid war ran by a very stupid president. I ain't even gonna hold y'all, dog. This nigga is the definition of a DEI president, bro. Real talk.
Prices are way down. We just had 4 states. It was just reported that 4 states had $1.99 a gallon. Right?
Trump.
What state was that? Trump mentioned that there's a state that has $1.99 per gallon gas. What state could that possibly be? Okay. So if Donald Trump said there's a state with $1.99 per gallon of gas, he was most likely referring to very cheap stations in states in the South of or Midwest, such as Oklahoma, Mississippi, Texas, Arkansas. Lower state gas taxes, proximity to Gulf Coast refineries, lower transportation costs for fuel. However, in important detail, fact checks have shown that no entire state has had an average price as low as $1.99 recently. The cheapest statewide averages were still around $2.60 to $2.70. See, bro, just lying through his teeth, and then the dummy's just gonna believe it. I don't believe nothing that most people say, so I'm gonna fact check it regardless.
Should have had ample warning that toppling the Iranian government was not going to happen. On March 7th, the Washington Post revealed that a classified report by the National Intelligence Council found that even a large-scale assault on Iran launched by the United States would be unlikely to oust the Islamic Republic's entrenched military and clerical establishment. The report was completed about a week before the United States and Israel initiated the war. The intelligence concluded that Iran's clerical and military establishment would respond to the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei by following protocols designed to preserve continuity of power.
Almost kind of like how we have protocols in place to keep on with continuity, right? We got the vice president, and then after that, you have the chain of command, and it just goes down and down and down and down and down, right? So this is what they're dealing with. But, you know, when you're so delusional and when you're so pompous and when you're so egotistical, you can't even fathom that this is possible for another country, especially if it ain't even, you know, a developed country per se, bro. This is crazy.
Further, the prospect of Iran's fragmented opposition taking control of the country was described as, quote, unlikely. The source of the report, the National Intelligence Council, is composed of veteran analysts who produce classified assessments meant to represent the collective wisdom of Washington's 18 intelligence agencies. One would think that, if Congress had any integrity at all, they'd launch investigations. Given there was ample evidence that a war to topple the regime would be fruitless, everything that preceded and followed the war, especially the scores of deaths, should be scrutinized. Especially if, say, the government lied about Iran's nuclear program or the imminent threat from Iran against the United States.
See this guy right here, bro, Benjamin Netanyahu, dog. This dude has been saying that we have to immobilize Iran's nuclear capability since at least 1996, dog. At least since 1996, once a month, he has said Iran is weeks away from having nuclear capabilities.
Something else that should be scrutinized is whether the war was launched in the interest of a foreign country.
Yes, it was.
They were going to attack all of the Middle East and Israel. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it on Israel.
Hey everyone, I am a one-man operation, and I need all the support I can get. I want to thank everyone who has become a patron. Your support means the world and is essential for me to be able to produce more videos. There's exclusive content on my Patreon as well that I can't show on YouTube. Love you all, take care. This press gaggle on Air Force One from March 7th is enlightening.
Don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So,
absent a teleprompter, Trump can't string together more than one reason to justify bombing Iran other than October 7th.
They are among the most evil people ever on earth. They cut babies' heads off. They chop women in half. What they did, take a look at October 7th. Take a look.
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Everything that you just said they did, your people done that shit historically.
Look at what they've done over the last 47 years.
Complete with references to beheaded babies, Trump has become nothing more than a melodramatic Israeli diplomat. Rather than reaching and outright lying about Iran's role in IEDs in Iraq and the USS Cole bombing, Trump references an attack on Israel and not the United States. He doesn't even seem to try to assure these reporters that the war in Iran is anything but a war for Israel. I also couldn't help but notice that during the course of the briefing, Trump referenced his gut with regard to his policy decisions.
We will start at the appropriate time, which is basically a gut instinct. We will.
Look, I don't trust nothing gut instinctual from Trump, bro. Your gut didn't show you how not to file Chapter 7 or whatever it was, 11, for all of the businesses that you had. Guys, so many black conservatives give Trump so much grace after having all of those bankruptcies, right? I know black people who are running $1 million corporations, probably going to be $1 billion before our lifetime is over, and they ain't never had to file bankruptcy because they didn't know what they was doing. These people are smart people, bro. Like, guys, there are so many people in this country who created businesses and never filed bankruptcy. But then when the president did it, y'all look at it like it was a badge of honor. But that's what they do, bro. You know, you get that, you file bankruptcy, dog, and then you ain't got to pay nothing back. That's what they've been doing for years, bro. Black folks got to get on that shit too. But you always fail to mention all of the successful people who never filed bankruptcy, and you don't, give them credit for actually being good business people. But then you allow someone like this, who's clearly from his track record not a good business person, to run the country.
Start filling up these strategic reserves.
I looked into this some more and found that back in 2018, he gave an interview to the Washington Post where he said, "My gut tells me more sometimes than anybody else's brain can ever tell me." Indeed, Trump has vaunted his gut instinct for decades. In his 1987 book, The Art of the Deal, he suggests, listen to your gut, no matter how good something sounds on paper. Indeed, go with your gut appears in Career Advice from the Donald, from his 2004 book, How to Get Rich. Another way to put that would be, he acts on impulse, and now that he's president, the world at large is at the mercy of that. Evidently, it is a terrible way to conduct foreign policy. The Financial Times, in reporting on Netanyahu's 7th visit to Washington since Trump's second term began, wrote, "Pressure from Netanyahu could also mark an inflection point for a U.S. president whom analysts say is prone to gut-level policy shifts based on his most recent conversations." They quoted Colin Dweck, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. "He's erratic. He's one of these leaders who listens to the last person who talks to him." It has to be said that Trump is also extraordinarily vain, and any stroking of his ego makes him highly vulnerable to manipulation. Netanyahu appears to have sold Trump on joining an attack on Iran this way. The Wall Street Journal just recently published a story about this process. As opposed to Netanyahu's longtime public diplomacy before TV cameras broadcasting to the American public,
you have to dismantle.
Hey, dog, I wanted to stop it there. You know, they say he's susceptible to praise and all of that kind of stuff. So in other words, if you stroke Donald Trump's ego, you can get him to move in a way that you need him to move. And me personally, I'm quite the opposite. As soon as somebody start ass kissing, I can't trust them. I'm like, damn, bro, I'm not the friendliest nigga in the world, and I know I ain't the nicest person in the world, and I know I can be blunt at times. So you over here kissing ass, man, what you trying to get? What do you want? You're going to ask me for something before it's all over with, and I know it, and I'm gonna be prepared for it, because I'm already gonna say no, because I know you being disingenuous right now. That's just how I move.
Until the entire terror empire, and especially before its main practitioners, the terror states of Iran and Iraq, acquire nuclear weapons. And this, I think, has been a wake-up call from hell.
This is the greatest terrorist regime in the world, and we don't want him to have the ultimate weapon of terror, which is nuclear weapons.
Now he has taken...
Side note, I'm not used to white men having deep voices like this.
Of terror, which is nuclear weapons.
Now he has taken an unusual backseat role in driving the public rhetoric in the U.S. Netanyahu has emphasized Trump's central role in the war and credited the president with key decisions, portraying him as the driving force behind the effort against Iran. In television interviews and public statements, Netanyahu has stressed that Trump acts in America's interests and makes his own decisions.
And you know that's cap, dog. I don't know how people like this can sleep at night. The only explanation that I could give is that he's not, in fact, an actual human. He has to be an alien or something because, dog, knowing that the destruction you are causing on Earth, all of the pain and suffering that you're causing on Earth, and you still sleep at night, which is crazy to me, dog. It goes to show you that these people cannot be human, bro. Real talk. Y'all think I'm joking. I'm serious, man. I've seen some fucked up shit that caused me to lose sleep for like a night or two. And I know he's seen some crazy shit because he's the one calling the shots. How do you sleep at night knowing that you are causing this level of pain and suffering, dog? You can't be human, bro.
That approach is playing to Trump's instincts. Quote, he has figured out how to persuade and partner with and flatter Trump in ways that have been extremely effective in advancing his goals, said Daniel Shapiro, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East.
Oh, wow.
The Israeli defense minister gave an interview to Channel 12 shortly after the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran, where he spoke about the planning for the operation. He reveals that the goal for the elimination of the Khamenei regime was hatched, not surprisingly, by Netanyahu.
We were already in November when we sat with the Prime Minister in a very small forum, and the Prime Minister set a goal to eliminate the Khamenei regime in November. And in consultation with the IDF and the Mossad.
As Mark Mazzetti of the New York Times concluded in a video news analysis,
I think the story of the last couple of months is just how much Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel was behind President Trump's decision to go to war in Iran.
Trump's thinking is all the more bewildering when considering that, prior to the war in Iran, he was facing mounting pressure over affordability. Despite being publicly dismissive on the issue,
It was a con job. Affordability, they call it, was a con job by the Democrats.
Trump put forward a number of policy proposals that were obvious attempts to address affordability woes. After all, just under half of Republicans polled by Pew Research were happy with the state of the economy.
Oh, just half of them, bro? Not all of them? Overall economic assessments are little changed as Republicans and Democrats continue to diverge. Look at these charts, y'all. This is damning right here, bro. This is telling you the truth about Trump. Well, people ain't fucking with Trump like that.
From a survey published in early October. In early November, Democrats had won gubernatorial elections in New Jersey and Virginia by comfortable margins, raising the alarm for Republicans ahead of the midterms. And so Trump floated $2,000 checks paid for by tariffs, 50-year mortgages, lowering tariffs on produce. He also mulled a 10% cap on credit card interest rates for a year. In a December speech on the economy, Trump sought to defend his administration against charges of an affordability crisis.
Wow.
They have a new word. You know, they always have a hoax. The new word is affordability.
In a moment that has aged poorly, Trump mentions the low cost of oil. More than that, he asserts that low energy prices are paramount and lead to other costs falling as well.
You know, our oil prices are coming down very substantially, energy prices. And honestly, with that, everything comes down because there's nothing nearly in the category of oil. That's why you're seeing oil per barrel coming down nicely, very nicely. But when energy comes down, your other prices come down too, all of your prices.
About the worst thing he could have done for affordability, it turns out, is start a new war in the Middle East.
Around the area where 20% of all oil has to travel through. That is stupid. That is really stupid. That would be like basically shutting down I-10 to, involve yourself in a war. And we know that I-10 is a huge source of traffic for freight. It would be like that. If we shut down I-10, that would fuck over the economy, bro. And that's what he did. He fucked over the watery I-10, basically. And I'm using that loosely as an analogy, guys. I know y'all gonna overthink it, but I'm just trying to put things in perspective. Like, such a crucial portion of the world is now being controlled, or at least not even controlled, is being under the watchful eye of the Iranians and saying that only, and this is the crazy part too, China is able to get their oil through. And I think they said India is getting their oil through, but it's us that can't get ours through.
Additionally, his dismissive response to the ensuing rise in costs for gas, one would think, is not doing him any favors.
And why does he have that hat
In
on?
an interview with Reuters, he comes across as callous. I don't have any concern about it, he said, when asked about the higher prices at the pump. They'll drop very rapidly when this is over. And if they rise, they rise. But this is far more important than having gasoline prices go up a little bit.
We figured oil prices would go up, which they will. They'll also come down. They'll come down very fast, and we will have gotten rid of a major cancer on the face of the earth. We will have taken out a cancer. You know, don't forget October 7th. Don't forget all of the things that have happened over the years, all caused by these people. So
bro, this is the type of shit that pissed me off, but I really want to do something right quick. I need you to explain this to me like I am a kindergartner. When it comes to Iran and America, throughout all of our history, who messed with who first? It's always us, bro. Come on, man. Short answer. The United States messed with Iran first in a really big, clear way. That happened in 1953 when the U.S. helped kick out Iran's elected leader and put the King Shah back in strong power. They're always destroying regimes and placing puppets in their place. Think of it like a playground. Imagine a kid named Iran and a bigger kid named America on the playground. Iran chose a class captain, prime minister, whatever that name is, who said, "This is our ball." AKA oil is always about the money. We want to use it ourselves. America and his friend Britain were used to playing with the ball and making a lot of money from it, so they got scared and upset. In 1953, America secretly helped push that captain out and helped the king of Iran take more power again, so things stayed good for America and Britain. Dog, my whole point was this, dog. Listen to how they speak about this place as if y'all didn't go over there fucking with them first. And this ain't gonna be nothing but a rerun of Vietnam. Vietnam kicked our ass, man. So many black people and white people died in that damn war. They was messing over y'all using guerrilla warfare.
Trump's inner circle are scrambling to find ways to contain the fallout. An energy industry executive told Politico that the White House is looking under every rock for ideas on improving energy prices, especially gasoline prices. Energy Secretary Chris Wright and other advisors focused on energy policy are getting screamed at to find some good news on bringing down prices, the executive said. The fact that diesel has increased even faster than petrol, even if you don't have a diesel engine, can hamper shipping.
Yep.
As CNN put it, nearly every item in your home was on a truck at some point, which mostly runs on diesel. Farmers may be some of the worst affected, as farmers depend on diesel to power their tractors and combines, as well as deliver the fertilizer they need to grow crops and get their product to market. The blockage of the Strait of Hormuz is also sending jet fuel prices soaring, write the Washington Post. This affects not only commercial travel, but also air freight, as certain products generally travel by air, including computer chips, electronics, aerospace components, medical goods. Moving on from the economic cost to the United States, a grave concern especially now for the White House, there is also the enormous cost to American military readiness and weapon stockpiles. On March 7th, the Wall Street Journal warned, soldiers are burning through air defense interceptors to fend off Iranian missile and drone attacks. U.S. Navy destroyers have fired volleys of Tomahawk missiles. They spoke to Tom Carrico, a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He said it has been a recurring pattern that Central Command uses the long-range missiles that Indo-Pacific Command is going to need on a bad day. Reviewing their military capabilities, China is a formidable rival. With one of the world's biggest missile arsenals, a large naval fleet, and unrivaled manufacturing might.
Oh, yeah.
It aims to absorb Taiwan and hasn't ruled out the use of force to do so. A contingency America's military and defense industrial base are struggling to prepare for.
Y'all know what's so scary about that, dog? China is the type of country, right? It's a communist country, right? China is the type of country where if it came down to a missile fight, they can produce missiles faster than we can, because if they chose to, what they can do is get the whole country on board and building these bitches for the greater good. Now, we don't have that same capability over here like that. I don't even think the missile manufacturers are over here. I don't know where they are. But China, on the other hand, they have more human capital than us. And I would argue that they're probably, and please don't take this the wrong way, but out of necessity, I think they probably are much harder workers than us. But y'all heard what them people said before. They said it take anywhere between how many billions of dollars or millions of dollars for these interceptors? And then you can only produce 6 to 7 of them a month. Them people going to be creating missiles at a much more alarming pace than we can create the interceptors that stop them. And then the drones, they're using expensive ass counter defensive mechanisms to stop things that cost pennies on the dollars relatively. Lord, bro, this is just economically unsound, dog.
If Beijing ordered an invasion and America decided to fight, U.S. troops would need mountains of munitions to strike Chinese ships crossing the Taiwan Strait and shoot down Chinese barrages. They additionally quote Michael Horowitz, who served as U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Biden administration, who judged China's capabilities are, quote, an order of magnitude more challenging than Iran's. Think everything Iran has at the lower end, plus a huge quantity of higher-end weapons as well, that would require even more substantial air defenses to defeat.
Boy,
showing
tripping.
how costly fighting Israel's wars is to the U.S., during the 12-day war with Iran last year, it moved 2 THAAD air defense systems to Israel and fired more than 150 missiles to shoot down Iranian ballistic missiles, nearly a quarter of the interceptors ever purchased by the Pentagon.
Damn!
Now the Pentagon is scrambling to reload. In January, it signed deals with Lockheed Martin to dramatically expand annual production capacity for interceptors. The increase is expected to happen over 7 years. In conclusion, for years, the U.S. has said it would shift its attention to Asia, but has remained bogged down elsewhere.
Oh, wow.
Patriot missiles are also vital for another theater in which the U.S. has committed enormous amounts of resources. A separate journal article reads, Russia is one of the biggest winners in the early days of the largest U.S. military confrontation in decades, as Iranian missiles deplete stocks of Patriot interceptors that Ukraine needs for its defense. For us, this is a matter of life, Ukrainian President Zelensky said of the interceptors. What should be alarming to American officials, U.S. and NATO adversaries, including China, Russia, and Iran, are closely tracking interceptor expenditures, according to intelligence and defense officials. Their military doctrines increasingly emphasize mass production of cheap drones and ballistic missiles designed to overwhelm Western stockpiles.
Asymmetry warfare, bro. Straight up. You know, when you study history, dog, and you study asymmetry, dog, you can see why so many people are delusional, because they don't know history. There's a lot of examples throughout human history where a much smaller, less capable force put down a much larger force. You could think about the Spartans versus the Persians. You can think about Vietnam versus America, Iraq versus America. You could think about Haiti versus France. You can think about all of those different things. Bro, when people are fighting for something that's more meaningful than just trying to gain a dollar, when people are fighting for their freedom, when people are fighting for their legacy, when people are fighting for just their right to live, dog, they're going to put up a much better fight than people who are just following orders. They're going to put up a much better fight than a person who's just doing it for financial gain. That's all I'm saying.
In other words, America's adversaries are aware that Western defense contractors produce too few interceptors too slowly and have redesigned their strategies to reflect that. Another way that Russia benefits, making Russian oil and gas indispensable for the Western economies would certainly be a prize for Putin, said Alexandra Prokopenko, a former advisor to the Russian Central Bank and a fellow at the Carnegie Russia Eurasia Center. The journal's editorial board, however, urges the U.S. to continue the war, ignore oil prices. But just a day after oil reached $100 a barrel, and it would reach as much as $120 per barrel, Trump seemed to be looking for a way out. Speaking to Republican lawmakers at his golf club in Florida, Trump repeatedly emphasized that it was a short affair.
We took a little excursion.
And look, keep in mind, they just come back off of a retreat, a vacation while America is burning down. They was all in Florida. The Republicans and shit like that, the House of Representatives. Yeah, they was in Florida having a fucking retreat. What kind of shit is that?
Because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil. And I think you'll see it's going to be a short-term excursion. Short-term.
Like Iraq and
Short-term.
Afghanistan.
A far cry from his earlier vow to fight for as much as 5 weeks or longer.
You know, if we didn't do that B-2 attack, Israel would have been wiped out. They would have had a
And we supposed to care because of what? Gives a shit.
2 weeks after that. They were going to attack all of the Middle East and Israel. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used it on Israel.
Just after this speech, he gave a press briefing where he was asked,
You called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to
soon.
Amazingly, Trump says the threat from Iran was eliminated days prior.
The big risk on that war has been over for 3 days. We wiped them out in the first 2 days.
On March 9th, the Wall Street Journal reported that some of Trump's advisors urged him to look for an exit plan amid spiking oil prices and concerns that a lengthy conflict could spark political backlash, though he didn't provide a clear timeline for ending the Iran operation. What's more, after saying on Monday that the war might be over soon, the president added, "We could go further, and we're going to go further." Trump has hinted in public and told aides in private that he would back the killing of the younger Khamenei if he proves unwilling to cede to U.S. demands, current and former U.S. officials said.
The art of the deal looking ass nigga.
But some of Trump's advisors have encouraged him to just declare victory already. They've also briefed him on public opinion polls showing most Americans oppose the war. Some of Trump's advisors watched with alarm as oil prices shot to over $100 a barrel. They have also fielded calls about the midterm elections from some nervous Republicans. When the price of gas and oil rise, so does everything else. Given affordability was already an issue, this leads to real challenges, said Stephen Moore, an outside economic advisor to Trump. CNN called the current oil crisis the biggest oil disruption in history. In his first public statement following his appointment as the new supreme leader of Iran, Mojtaba Khamenei vowed to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. I've noticed that Trump and the neoconservative journalists who cheer him on have argued for continuing the war to ensure that Iran won't be able to wield the strait as a weapon against the global economy. We've been held hostage, as they say, and this war will keep that from happening again.
It's got to be like a wake up call, right? The smaller, less capable country has the bigger country by the balls because of strategy. This is wild.
But this is obviously implying regime change, and the columnists and editorial writers who are perpetuating this fantasy are being dishonest. This is evident from the National Intelligence Council report, and as has been observed ad nauseum elsewhere, there is no historic precedent for regime change through aerial bombardment. This raises questions about what Israel really gets out of this war, if not regime change. I read a helpful and extremely worrisome article from Joshua Leifer, an analyst and historian at Haaretz. He wrote on March 13th, "Don't fall for the regime change talk. Israel is mowing the lawn in Iran." Kisua Chadeshe in Hebrew. Contrary to the overheated rhetoric of regime change emanating from Netanyahu and his ministers, Israel's military did not embark on this war with the objective of toppling the Islamic Republic. Israeli Air Force strategists know all too well that no modern regime has been overthrown by air power alone. Israel cannot actually achieve the total victory of which its most delusional propagandists have begun to dream. Instead, Israel seeks to degrade and deter Iran and its military capabilities so that Iran cannot threaten Israel in the future. If striking Iran had previously been imagined as an impossibly risky endeavor, in the span of less than 2 years, it has come to seem to many Israelis as almost mundane, as has the reality of unceasing war. That makes future Israeli strikes in Iran more likely, even after the current fighting ends.
I saw a video recently that said that the reason why Israel is doing what they're doing is because they want the whole world to hate them. That way, that will strengthen their unity and they can have the ways to beat us all. Because if you have a small group of people who are all basically back against the wall and it's them versus everyone else, they really do still stand a great chance to win because they're all going to be on the same page. And the arguments that he said in the video in which he believes what he believes is because there are so many different ways that they could go about getting rid of their enemies and no one would know that they did it because we have the scientific and technological advances to do it. Right. He said, man, there's so many ways they could have done what they did in Gaza and the world wouldn't have been the wiser. But they wanted us to know that they did it because they want the world to hate them. It's so many ways they could destroy people through chemicals, through other mediums that don't have anything to do with war. Well, the way we know it, so I don't know, man. It's an interesting concept. I'm not going to lie to y'all. But, man, I don't support this war, bro. I just can't imagine my brothers and sisters going to die for two Netanyahu and Trump. As a black person, bro, I just couldn't imagine putting my life on the line for any of those people. I'm just saying, dog, straight up. I just couldn't do it, dog. A draft dodger, really? Anyways, guys, I hope y'all like the video and don't forget to
Hype me up. Hype me up.
Yeah, I need them hypes like a crackhead need a pipe, man. I'm gonna get at y'all on the next one. You know what? Nah, I'll change my mind. Let's read some comments first. Netanyahu was waiting for 4 decades for a president stupid enough for this war. That's crazy. He listens to the last person who talks to him. Trump is AI. Affordability is a con job by the Democrats. Man, stuff like the onion must be hurting. Satire doesn't hit the same when in real life stuff is just as absurd. Listen to your gut from a man in diapers does not instill confidence. Don't forget October 7th. A president not from the country attacked on October 7th. Yeah, that's wild. That's it, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'm gonna get at y'all on the next one.